and welcome to a very special Christmas edition of Monson Made This. My name is Michael, and I make vegan food, and it would be amazing if you would give me a Christmas gift and go ahead and subscribe to my channel and click the like button below. Just helps my channel grow. I've seen that about 80% of the people that watch my videos aren't subscribed, so it would just be a tremendous gift if you would go ahead and click that subscribe button right now. Having said that, speaking of Christmas, I am going to be showing you how to make 4 amazing handmade vegan edible Christmas gifts. I have an amazing vegan butter, which sounds weird that you would be giving out butter for Christmas, but this butter is delicious, and anybody who's vegan or non-vegan would love to receive it. I'm going to be making 2 flavors, just a traditional and a cinnamon maple butter. Come on, sounds amazing. Also, I'm going to be making a delicious mocha mix or hot cocoa mix. I'm going to be making a dry rub, and I'm going to be making a delicious jalapeno jelly, which is perfect for some of the vegan cheeses I've shown in other videos, which you should also check out. I'll have a holiday video playlist linked at the end of this video and probably up here somewhere. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with making the vegan butter because I want that to hang out in the fridge while we make the other things. And yeah, let's get started. You guys are crazy today. What is going on? Why are you guys acting like this? Hamming it up for the camera. It's crazy. Can we keep it under control a little bit? You still have a couple hours till dinner. Come on. Just keep it under control a little bit. We good? All right. So, for Christmas a couple of years ago, I received this book, the Homemade, is it Homemade? Yeah, Homemade Vegan Pantry by Miyoko Shinner. She makes vegan cheeses. Sorry about the pups today. I don't know what their deal is. She makes vegan cheeses. She makes vegan butter. You can buy her stuff in stores, but you can also buy this book. I actually received 2 copies of this one year for Christmas and had to return one of them, and I haven't actually told the people that got me them that I returned one of them, so if you were one of the ones that got me this book, I did not return yours. But I love this book so much, and one of the recipes in here, which I'm obsessed with, is the vegan butter recipe, and if you've ever purchased her vegan butter in the store, it pretty much tastes the exact same. I'm not going to be giving away the recipe. I will have an affiliate link below if you want to buy this book. If you Google the recipe, you should be able to find it. Also, Sarah Sullivan from Sarah's Vegan Kitchen has a recipe on her channel. I'll link that below as well. But I'm just going to start pouring ingredients or dumping ingredients into my magic bullet here, and then it blends up, and then I'm going to put it into a mold so that it's easy to give out as gifts. So let's start pouring. This is coconut oil, which I have just melted slightly so that it pours. Also, hot tip here, coconut oil can be quite expensive. This is an organic coconut oil. Also, you want to make sure that it is refined and not the extra virgin, because if it's extra virgin, it'll taste like coconuts, and the refined doesn't taste like coconut. But this jar was $3.99, which is not bad if you ever have purchased coconut oil before. My hot tip is to go to Home Goods or places like TJ Maxx. They have like great deals on organic coconut oil, so just to let you know. Okay, so coconut oil is in here. I'm going to be adding some olive oil, and I like to use olive oil just because I feel that it is just a little bit richer in flavor. You could just use like a generic like canola oil or sort of plain flavored oil, but I think the olive oil gives it a little bit of a butteriness. So that goes in there. A couple of videos ago, I made a homemade cultured, it's a homemade soy yogurt, and I'm gonna be using that, and this is gonna give it a kind of a cultured butter flavor, a little bit of a tang. Pour that in there. We need some salt, because we're making salted butter. This is really good for kind of just spreading onto bread. You could use it for cooking, but you know, as a gift, you're going to give probably just a few tablespoons worth. So I would suggest more that they just eat it with some delicious bread, some fresh, maybe homemade bread, or some delicious bread they got at a store. Last ingredient is soy lecithin. I actually bought this at, I think, like Vitamin World. You can get it in granules or you can get it in the liquid. The liquid is kind of cool because as you'll see the color here, it's a little bit of an amber color, but it also adds to that yellowness that will help to create more of a butter color. Now this stuff is really sticky. be careful. This is basically just the emulsifier. So this is what holds all of the oil and the yogurt together. I know that some people don't necessarily want this in their food. It's safe. I don't find any problems with it, but you could make this without the lecithin. Maybe you couldn't find it. It just maybe will separate, so you'll see kind of a separation once it chills. The lecithin will help that. All right, I've said enough. Let's go ahead and blend this for 1 minute. Okay, so a minute is up, and I was just getting ready these molds. Now I found these silicone molds. This is silicone molds. I found this one, I guess it was from IKEA. I found it at a thrift store. So it's little squares. I found this one at Target, little maple leaves. So as I said, I'm gonna be doing 2 flavors of this. The first one is just gonna be a plain one. And this particular mold, each of these little leaf shapes holds 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to divide half of this up into this mold, and then I will add the maple and cinnamon to make the maple cinnamon butter. So there's 2 leaf shapes on this particular one that I have. So this, I don't know what kind of leaf this is, but this one is going to be my plain, and then the more traditional like maple leaf one, I'm going to make the maple cinnamon flavor. And this just needs to hang out in the fridge probably for a good couple of hours to set up. You could do this in any shape. You could do like a larger, like kind of a springform pan size if you were maybe like, if you want to just make this for yourself, serve it at a party. But I think this like sort of 2 tablespoon size is just really perfect for a gift. Okay, so that is about half. I think this particular recipe makes 2 cups. So now I'm going to add some maple syrup and some cinnamon. We'll mix it together, and then we'll have maple cinnamon butter. For the maple cinnamon, to the half batch here, I'm going to add just probably about 2 tablespoons. You could always taste it and see if it was mapley enough. This is sort of in place of something like a honey butter, because vegans don't eat honey normally. So having like a maple butter kind of is perfect for things like corn muffins, anything that you want kind of like a sweet buttery flavor to. And then I'm going to be adding some cinnamon here, just about a half teaspoon, and I'm eyeballing it. I think I will give it a little bit of a taste just to make sure it's exactly how I want it. And I'm going to pop the lid on and just pulse it a little bit just to help mix these flavors in. All right, let me get something here to just taste it. Let's give this a taste. I nailed it. Ooh, that's good. It's like salty and sweet and cinnamony. Let's go ahead and fill up the molds for the other ones. Again, my more maple leaf shape ones are my maple cinnamon. And you could give, you could do all maple cinnamon. You could give 1 of each to your, not guests, what would they be? Your recipients? But that's probably what I'll do, is give 1 of each. This has been omnivore approved. I actually gave a batch of a bigger thing of my butter to Ben's dad, and he loved it. So he's not vegan whatsoever. Looks like I messed up in terms of evaluating this batch, so let's keep adding. So it looks like I have a little bit extra. So let's go ahead and add them to the square molds also. And hopefully by the time I'm done making my other gifts, these will be set up and I can pop them out and show you what they look like. I do caution you against using any molds that are maybe a little bit too intricate. I think the maple leaves are a little bit too intricate. You might lose a little bit of the detail. All right, I'm gonna get these into the fridge, and then we will move on to the next holiday gift idea, which is going to be my pepper jelly. The next gift I'm going to show you how to make is a jalapeno jelly. Now, this is by no means my recipe, but I've been giving this out for years, and I even still have some in my fridge from last year because it lasts forever. But The directions and everything you need comes in like a package of pectin. This is the Ball brand. This is available at most grocery stores, and this is 2 packets of liquid pectin, which we need both of these for the recipe. So I'm literally following their recipe from this, so this is just an idea for you, but I also just want to kind of show you how easy it is to make jelly. And we have about 12 jalapenos here, which are going to get cut up a little bit. I'm going to remove some of the seeds, and then we're going to process it with some apple cider vinegar, and then we'll go back onto the stove, cook it with some sugar, and then we're pretty much done. So I'm gonna start cutting up these jalapenos and get them in here. And I do want to save some of the seeds, I guess, so that it has a little bit of heat, but remove a fair bit as well. If you would like to use gloves for this process to maybe protect your hands, that is up to you. Just I have to remind myself that the rest of the day I'm not allowed to touch anything that's important to me, like my eyes or anything else. I'm also leaving the ribs in there. That's where a little bit of the heat is. I don't recommend this to somebody who doesn't like heat whatsoever. Definitely want to reserve this for your friends and family or coworkers that do like a little bit of spice, because as much as I am taking out some of these seeds, it's still jalapeno jelly. All right, I have the jalapenos all cut up and in here. I'm just gonna run this over to the sink, rinse off my hands, well, wash my hands. I'll probably have to wash my hands quite a few more times to get this off, but it's fine. So I'm gonna just wash my hands, and I'll be back to finish up this blending portion. To the jalapenos, I'm going to add 2 cups of apple cider vinegar. And this is pretty much all of the liquid that is in this recipe. I didn't realize that, making a jelly like this, there was this much vinegar, but it just adds a nice tang. You don't really read it as like, oh my God, there's 2 cups of vinegar in this jelly. If you've ever had jalapeno jelly, I guaranteed it was made exactly like this. It doesn't, again, really read it doesn't read vinegar. It just is tangy. So, all right, I'm gonna blend this up into, I don't know, this is kind of subjective. I wanna get pretty small, but I still want a few little chunks of the jalapeno in there just so you can recognize what it is. All right, I actually had a little bit too much liquid in this food processor, so it's leaking a little bit, so I need to move fast and get it back onto the stove. You might want to do this in a blender. I didn't realize I had too much liquid in here, so all right, I'll meet you back at the stove, and I'll have it already in the pot. So, slight crisis, not averted. I do have the jalapeno vinegar mixture already in this pot here. Not as blended as I would have liked. Again, I exceeded the water or the liquid amount on my food processor, so maybe I would suggest doing it in a blender. But I've got it on the stove, ready to go, and to that I'm going to be adding a ton of sugar. This is actually, according to the recipe, 6 cups. So I'm just going to pour this in here. And what needs to happen here is we're going to stir it up. It is going to come to a boil, and then it is going to kind of boil. I guess it needs to be a pretty decent boil for 10 minutes. When the 10 minutes are up, we add the pectin, let it go for another minute, and then we can jar it up. All right, we have reached a rolling boil. I have set my timer, and I am gonna keep an eye on this, kind of keeping it at a boil, but just making sure that it doesn't boil over. It does seem to be getting quite foamy, and I know that'll subside as the time goes, but I don't want it to overflow and get molten hot syrup all over my stove. So I'll just kind of keep it going, trying to keep it boiling, but also keeping it from boiling over. Again, it should subside as the 10 minutes progresses, so everything is perfect, everything is fine, everything is exactly how it should be. And when the 10 minutes is up, we'll add the pectin, goes for another 1 minute, and then we're ready to jar it up. The 10 minutes is up. I've already cut the tops off of my pectin, and I'm just going to pour these in, stir them around, set the timer for 1 more minute, And then we will be ready to put this into jars. And be careful with this pectin, it's kind of gnarly. I had it setting up in a glass just so they wouldn't spill out. And you know, it's just kind of a gooey, sticky stuff that's a little bit difficult to get off things sometimes, so just be cautious. All right, 1 minute, bring it back up to a rolling boil. I love this color. It's got just like a, I don't know, I like the smell right now. It's just kind of a sweet pepper vinegar smell. I think it's pleasant. Ben isn't necessarily loving it, but I promise the jelly will be delicious and he'll love that. And that's time. We're jelly. All right, so this is all ready to go. And it's still even bubbling a little bit. So what I have here are just a bunch of jars that I've saved over the last year or so. I've removed the labels, I've put them in the dishwasher, I've cleaned them, sanitized them, so they're ready to go. The process that we're going to be using today in terms of jarring them is not going to be, there's basically two options, right? The sort of like refrigerator version, which is not a full seal, and then there's the version where you actually submerge them into boiling water and then they can be shelf stable for a year or so. These will last quite a bit, or quite a long time, because it is just essentially sugar and vinegar. But, you know, I'd recommend keeping these in the fridge once they've come to room temperature. And then when you give them out as gifts, instructing people to keep them in the fridge, unless you do go through that extra step of putting them in the hot water and preserving them. So just a disclaimer. All right, I'm going to start pouring these into jars. And I do want to put the lid on pretty soon after I fill them. And that's just so the residual heat will actually, could possibly set off the seal, and then they would be sealed for freshness. They are all jarred up. This little half jar is going to just stay with me. I'm just going to clean things up here a little bit. I do want to get this in some hot water just so it doesn't fully stick to my pot. And then we'll be ready to make the next one, which, yeah, let's make the hot chocolate or mocha mix next. All right, this is a super easy, I guess, recipe. The point of this is to make a hot cocoa or like mocha mix that you could give out to people at work or friends or family, and then they can mix it with some warm almond milk or put it into their coffee, and they've got a delicious chocolatey beverage. And just 3 ingredients that we're going to be putting together. One that's really important here is this dried coconut milk powder, because this is kind of a coconut hot cocoa. We also have some powdered sugar and also some cocoa powder. So we need 1 part cocoa to 2 parts each of the powdered sugar and the coconut milk powder. So I'm just gonna start with the coconut milk powder to see exactly how much is in here, and then I can figure out how much I want to put in of the others. So let's just start out with 1 cup. To make this, once you actually have the mix ready to go, actually, we'll just use a cup of this. Looks like about what I have in there. You need about 1/4 cup to a cup of warm almond milk or to a cup of coffee, but that's also kind of subjective. You can add more or a little bit less. So a cup of powdered sugar goes to this because we had a cup of the coconut milk powder. They also, I believe, make soy milk powder. I really like the coconut milk powder because it's just got a nice texture and a delicious coconut flavor. I mean, who wouldn't love coconut hot cocoa unless you hate coconut? All right, now we need a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder as I make a mess everywhere. And this is just a basic unsweetened cocoa powder. Okay. As I'm throwing things everywhere, this needs to be mixed up. just get a wooden spoon. So if you want to look over here to my right, as I'm getting powders all over everything, I have gone and just thrifted some mugs, and of course then wash them in my dishwasher, clean them up really well. And the idea of this is that you're going to make these little packets here. You have a mug that would fit somebody's personality. Obviously, if you're on good terms with somebody at your office or a friend, then you can get them something a little bit more funny or ironic, or you can just give them something a little bit more basic, like a basic Merry Christmas one. If you wanted, you could package these with some thrifted spoons, or if it's a kid, you could package it with some candy canes. Really fun and easy. And I'll show you the bags that I'm using to put this in too in just a minute. I'm just trying to get all the clumps of coconut milk out of here. Okay, I'm done making a mess here. So I'm gonna put probably about a half cup of this mix per serving. And I'm going to be putting them in these bags. I just found these at the Container Store. I'm sure you could find something similar online. These are just a paper bag, unbleached, non-waxed. They are recyclable, they are compostable, so they're really great for this, especially if you want to, reduce plastic, you're thrifting mugs, you're just trying to reduce your waste for the holidays. So let's add a half cup of this mix into this bag here. And you could adjust it, you could put more, you could put less, but at least with a half cup, essentially you're giving them the amount that they need to make 2 drinks. And then I'm just going to wrap this up like that, and then get a string. You need quite a long string for this. Lost my scissors. So get quite a long string. All right, I've got a lot of stuff going on over here. I'm gonna clean my situation up just so I can show you how I'm gonna wrap this little package here. I'll make a couple more of them, and then I'll show you how I present them, which is gonna look similar to this. All right, the Virgo in me feels much better now that I've cleaned things up a bit. So I'm starting with the back of the bag facing up, and I'm just tying the string around it. And this one I'm going to make as sort of the Mocha mix one. The difference is that you would just suggest putting it in coffee. I guess you don't even have to make suggestions, just tell them to put this into warm milk, or I guess that is a suggestion, isn't it? Tell them to put it into warm milk or to put it into coffee. And they've got a delicious chocolate drink. This spoon here, just found it at a thrift store. And I'm gonna tie it on here. Little bow. You can trim the ends if you want. And then let's give this mug here says, "Smile, things couldn't possibly get any worse." And it's from Sue, the world's greatest VIP. And it goes in there just like that. So you got a fun mug that people could drink out of at their desk, a delicious drink, and a fun spoon that they can mix it all together with. And that's pretty much it for this mix. Again, this would be a great one for like a kid. Put a candy cane with it. Just to show you this other fun mug I got. It looks like it's a bunch of pirates and mermaids. Definitely show your personality with the fun mugs that you find at the thrift store. So I'm gonna make a couple more of these and put it away, and then I will show you the very last gift that we're making, which is a delicious dry rub. All right, I think we're ready. I wanted to streamline this process and get everything kind of already into little bowls and stuff. So in this giant bowl here, by the way, we're making my dry rub, which I've used a few times on my channel. I've used it in my mushroom walking taco video, and there's another one. I don't remember exactly what it is, but if you gave this as a gift, you could always recommend people to come to my website or my YouTube channel to check out the recipes that I use this rub in. So in this bowl here, I have a bunch of brown sugar already. And to that, I am adding some salt. We've got a lot of everything here, which is fine because we're making a big batch. And again, this is also one that you probably want to save a little bit for yourself. I have some espresso in here. So I'm going to need a cup of this. And this is not instant coffee. It's not ground for a traditional basket coffee maker. It is espresso ground, very finely ground. All right, let's start adding the spices. We have some cayenne pepper. We have some black pepper, garlic and onion powders. And as always, I will have the full recipe on my website, monsonmadethis.com. Some cumin, some cinnamon, and lastly, some smoked paprika. Now I'm just going to stir this together, trying to keep it all in the bowl, unlike what I did with the hot cocoa mix. And once this is all mixed up together, I'll show you how I'm going to give it out as a gift. This smells amazing, by the way. You can smell all of the spices. This is not an occasion to go through and clean out your spice cabinet of all the old spices you have. This is an occasion to maybe buy new spices. The Latin American section of the grocery store has the spices in these little bags. They're usually the least expensive, I find, in terms of the spices in the grocery store, and I would just suggest getting little bags of each of these. For most of the spices that are in this, it's pretty much the entire bag, but you really want fresh, very vibrant new spices for this. Again, it's not a time for you to just clean out your cabinets and get all the old spices in here. You want this to be as powerful and as fragrant as possible. All right, this looks pretty good. There's gonna be a few little chunks in here, not that big of a deal. This is a really great gift for people that, you're giving them something that's vegan, that's plant-based. They may not be. There is a chance that they will use this on animal products, but it's just nice that you gave them something that's homemade, that's delicious. It's not really up to you what they do with it. Ideally, they use it on mushrooms, which is my favorite way to use it, or zucchini. It's really great on all sorts of vegetables. But, it's something that you can give that they can use as they please. And, you kind of have to be okay with that. All right, so I love to save the jars from Better Than Bouillon. And these are my favorite jars to use for this dry rub. So just like I did with the jelly, I'm gonna fill these jars up. And I'm not sure exactly what the amount you'll get with this is. It's quite a large amount. And this should last quite a while. You don't use a ton on things. I guess if you're doing some larger vegetable or something like that, you may require a little bit more. But I've also saved some of these spice containers, and I'm gonna use these as well. I need to find a better. I've also saved these spice containers. I'm gonna use these as well. Again, you have different people in your life that need different amounts of things, so I would say if they are maybe not much of a cook, okay. Thought this funnel would be a little bit better. If they're not much of a cook, I'll just do it the messy way. Maybe just giving them a smaller one like this will be good. But if you know that they love to cook, they would really enjoy this rub, give them a larger amount. And if you're buying the bags for the hot cocoa, maybe just fill up some of the bags with this also. Give these to people in a mug. So that's it. Give them a decent amount, give them a smaller amount. This recipe for the rub makes quite a bit, so you've got a really great gift on your hands here. Well, I'm just gonna finish filling up the jars that I have, and then I'll show you collectively everything that we've made and a little bit of zhuzhing up that I like to do in order to present them as nice gifts. So I've spent the day making beautiful, delicious, homemade edible gifts that are vegan for my friends and family that may or may not be. So we have these incredibly delicious mocha mixes / hot cocos. that are here served in delicious, in fun, sometimes ironic, thrifted mugs, and these fun little bags that have avocados on them, but they're green, so they're perfect for the holiday season. I use the candy canes for the kids that are gonna make hot cocoa. They could essentially like stir it together with that and maybe have like kind of a peppermint hot cocoa. And then some thrifted kind of vintage looking spoons for the adults who are maybe going to be putting it in their coffee. And I think this would be great, you know, for friends and family, but also for coworkers, giving them out to people at the office, choosing personalized mugs for different people. I think that's kind of a cool, fun thing. I also have the butter here, which I would say maybe you could put them in these bags here if you wrapped them in parchment paper first, or if you had some extra jars as well, you could put the butter in there. But we have the maple butter and just the plain vegan butter. These are great. Serve these at your holiday party. You don't even necessarily have to give them out as gifts, but I definitely suggest that if you do give them out as gifts, that you keep them in the freezer beforehand. And then also when you give it to them, be like, hey, listen, this is perishable. Why don't you go ahead and put this in your fridge? Definitely not a gift that you want to have sitting out or part of like a gift exchange. This is the dry rub, and I have it in these old Better Than Bouillon jars. And I found these little gift tags that I thought were really on brand from, where are these from? Home Goods. You can tell that I go to Home Goods a lot. So just tie these on here, and I would suggest maybe putting my website on here or somewhere so they can go for ideas if they wanted to know what to use a dry rub on for vegan food. And then this also from Home Goods, these were like a garland, and I just cut up the string. Also quite on brand here, and these would be nice to put on the jellies as you give them out as gifts. Again, maybe putting my website on the back so that you could tell them exactly where they could go to find a cheese recipe to put this delicious jalapeno jelly on. So whatever you're gonna make, if you make all three of these or just one of them, definitely subscribe to this channel either way, and definitely give this a thumbs up if you haven't yet already. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you do make these, or if you do any variations, if you do any other flavors of vegan butter, or you know, if you find some other uses for these amazing holiday gifts. So thank you again. Have a Merry Christmas. I'll probably have another video or so before the big holiday. I'm not sure exactly what I will be doing then, but thank you for watching that in advance. You have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, or whatever it is that you celebrate, and I'll see you next time.